Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV, Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations. A few videos ago, I talked about my first field day experience. My very first field day was in 1967 with the Rochester Amateur Radio Club, using the call sign W0MXW, Whiskey 0 Mike, X-Ray Whiskey. At that time, I had just passed my general class exam, had to have the 13-word-a-minute code proficiency exhibited to the FCC at that time to get that license, and it conveyed all amateur privileges. That was before so-called incentive licensing. There was no advanced class license at all, and the extra class license was available primarily as a badge of prestige. Very few people had extra class licenses. But I was just getting started in CW and phone ham radio operation, and in fact, phone operation was a great novelty to me as a general class licensee, because as a novice, I hadn't had any such privileges except on 2 meters, and at that time it was AM, and 2 meters was almost always local. You hardly ever got any long distance contacts. But so the general class license opened up a whole new world for me, and at that time, single sideband had just become the de facto mode of communication. Just hadn't been really in existence for very long, but the radio club had 2 stations, a CW and a phone station, and I described all of that in that video. After 1967, in my high school years, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, I operated from the CW station. And there were usually 2 operators. We operated from a location on Assisi Heights, as in St. Francis of Assisi. There was a convent up there that people in Rochester, Minnesota called the Mother House. And they had an apple orchard and a whole lot of pre-existing structures perfect for setting up field day equipment, and so the club chose to set up in advance and operate for 24 hours rather than use the 27 hours, I believe it was, that we could use if we set up as quick as we could. But I operated CW, and we always had a station radio operator and a logger. And logging those contacts was a real challenge, because not only did we have to log the actual contacts we made, but we had to check for duplicate contacts, and try and stop the radio operator from making a complete contact before it could be determined that it was a duplication of a previous contact, the same station on the same band, I guess. So we had a great big board. It was like a clipboard, but larger, and had a special matrix type arrangement that we could log the contacts into, as well as using a regular log to make the contact record official. And we had to find that dupe as soon as we could before a contact was completed, and a contact only took a very short time. We just had to give the specifications of our club station, how many operators there were, and what type of power we were using, and the ARRL section, in that case Minnesota. The postal code would be MN, Mike November, but of course phonetics were not used in CW, so it was really quick. And more often than not, I think, the logger couldn't tell the operator that it was a dupe until after the contact had already been made. There were no personal computers back then to hasten the logging process or slow it down, as the case may be. So it made almost as much sense to just go ahead and make the duplicate contact and then cross it off the log, and that would be the logger's job if it happened to be a duplicate contact, so we wouldn't try to take credit for the same station twice. If you made too many mistakes, you would be penalized in the contest results. So it was a complicated business being a logger back in the olden days. But the whole contest was always great fun. Being in an apple orchard in June in Minnesota offers the challenge of eating a whole lot of apples that are really small and really sour. If you make that mistake, you can add a bellyache to your repertoire of field day enjoyments. But usually we just barbecued hamburgers and hot dogs, especially at night, and then once in a while other goodies, but the barbecues were the favorite. I remember the smell of propane from the generators that we used, propane-powered generators. Although the more savvy and advanced technical stations might use battery power, or even better, solar power with battery backup. But that was for extra credit and makes more sense today with the digital modes that we have and the additional bands that we can use. We usually had a station for HFSSB, HFCW, a 6-meter station, and a 2-meter station. So we usually had 4 different stations. And our power class was A as in alpha, so our exchange would usually comprise 4A Minnesota, or in SSB or voice communications, 4 alpha Minnesota. We just say the word Minnesota in single sideband. In CW, it would be da-da-da-dit. So our exchange would simply be da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dit. And you try to send us at a reasonable speed so you didn't have to repeat yourself, which would end up making a contact take longer even if the words a minute were faster. I settled ultimately on 18 words a minute, which was about the speed that I yammered out those dits and das a few seconds ago. But memories, particularly of the logging activity. I had a friend, Bob, and he and I usually managed the CW station during most of its operation. Half the time he operated and I logged, and the other half of the time we did the reverse, whatever that is. We switched roles. I can't even remember what I said 10 seconds ago, all right? I can remember what I said 50 years ago, but not 10 seconds ago. What is there some syndrome, some new syndrome I can give myself? Like the compulsion to always conclude my videos with 73 and so long, which in my native fist always translates to, but not in a contest, da-da-da-da-da-da.